Next up on Holly Shorts is Emily Schuman. She has a beautiful, beautiful short film called Baker's Hotline. I'm super excited to talk about this. So, number one question for you, Emily. So, what I want to know is this. We are both currently not at Holly Shorts right now, but we both have an affinity for the festival and an admiration for it. So, talk to me a bit about what it is that you admire so much and why it means so much to you to be at Holly Shorts.
I really love to see how the Baker's Hotline is incorporated into a film block.
Yeah.
And being at other festivals, it's been really interesting to see. Sometimes it's played with really heartwarming, sort of family-friendly films, which the Baker's
Mhm.
Hotline is. And other times, programmers will incorporate into like a Peak and Valley type of programming slot where it's something really heavy and the Baker's Hotline is a palate cleanser, or the Baker's Hotline gets the program rolling and then it gets into more serious subjects. So I just really love to see what programmers are doing to make it not just a film that you would see on Instagram and scroll to the next thing, but like a whole kind of palette of how they like to develop their program. So that's what I like.
Absolutely. And not only that, like you mentioned, the program is exceptional. So many wonderful films, so many different events, all the connections and collaboration you end up getting through Holly Shorts. It's an A plus in my department, definitely. Now I have to ask you about this. I saw on your resume at one point in time you interned at Panavision. So I just want to talk about what that experience was like. And is there anything you took away that really helps even on the indie side of things for you?
Definitely. I actually got my start as a union camera assistant.
Mhm.
Um, so I went to School of Visual Arts and I majored in cinematography. I was really interested in camera work and being with the camera. So I interned at Panavision and I got to meet all the big New York DPs that were coming into town. And I actually broke like a pretty major DP's filter, like right on the prep floor. And he was like, "Don't worry, I have 100 more at home." But I was, shattered for, no pun intended.
Sure.
But it's like, these are the kind of experiences that I think like working with these like really kind of experienced and intelligent and creative people is just like such a great way to understand how filmmaking all comes together. I loved my time in the camera department, but I felt like I was kind of craving something a bit more creative and started producing, making my own films. I work a ton in commercials and documentaries. So I feel like knowing every part of the process from A to Z, soup to nuts, is just essential for independent filmmaking.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. And to my surprise, you've actually been an actor once behind the scene. Tell me how you got into that thing.
This is a film that my very good friend Yoshi Tang made as his thesis film, and
Mhm.
I was the film loader on the thesis film. I was loading all the 16 millimeter film, but in the film I played the second AC. So there's a joke at the end of the film. I'm slating and they say soft sticks to not clap the slate super loud in front of
Yeah.
the actor, and I smashed the slate closed really loud, kind of like showing my inexperience. Um, that film, it kind of stands the test of time because people love to watch this film. I think it's on YouTube somewhere. I'll have to find it and link it maybe somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's a oneer. So it was like a really cool project to do, in college, a one take film, final project. So yeah.
Very, very cool. Awesome. Now, I myself run a film festival, and again, surprise, it lists film festival coordinator for the School of Visual Arts. Is that something that you still help to facilitate, or more importantly, what did you get to do with those folks?
I had this job in college where I would submit like really amazing thesis films to film festivals. And that was a really cool job in like my early kind of learning career because one, got to meet programmers and many of them haven't changed. Like I remember being in close touch with the Woodstock Film Festival, and it's still the same people there, even today, now almost 15 years later. Um, So that was like a really cool job because I got to understand how curation came together, how kind of the festival landscape worked. At that point, I was mailing DVDs, you know, in the mail, and then they would send back sometimes they would send a feedback report. So it was a really cool job. I don't plan on doing that anymore, but it was a really great experience, getting to do that through the School of Visual Arts.
Well, and secondly, I'd like you to address something because I've noticed lately that more and more there tends to be, at least from what I see, a lot of filmmakers out there that have not been as complimentary when it comes to film festivals, calling them scams, calling them basically worthless or having no worth to them or merit. How would you address that, having worked with an entity such as this?
I I understand the frustration because it costs a lot of money to submit, and you have to submit to a lot of places to kind of be able to get in. And because the programming teams um are sometimes the same at different festivals. Once you get into one or two, it kind of rolls into more.
Sure.
So I understand people feeling frustrated, like, why is my film not getting seen? I'm paying all this money. I submitted to 20 festivals, but for my first film, I submitted to 100, and it's a lot of money. And I would email the programmers myself and saying, like, look, I'm a first-time filmmaker. Could I have any sort of discount? Some people said, yes, here's a small discount. Some people said no. Some people said, here's a you can submit for free. So I
Yeah.
think you really have to put your hat in the ring. And I also, when I went to a talk that the Duplass brothers did many, many years ago, and this always stuck with me. They said if your work is not being shared, either by your friends, your family, virally, it might not be good. It might not be good yet. And I think that's something really, really important to kind of like face the music sometimes. If your film's not getting into, Sundance is a different thing. If it's not getting into regional festivals, local festivals, shared online, you might have to go back and look at it again and really take the criticism. Does this need to be better? Do I need to move on? Do I want to try again? So I think that if it's good, people can't help but share it. So that's just a good kind of lesson that I always have to keep relearning.
Yeah, no kidding. Thank you very much for that, actually. I know you did this special little project, and I want to talk about When I'm Her,
Yeah.
Madame Olga. Can you
Yeah.
tell me just a bit about that in terms of the backstory as far as your connection with Michael? And tell us a bit about the film, of course.
Yeah. What I'm Her was my first short film that I made. It's about a dancer who has an alter ego who is an old Russian woman named Madame Olga. And this dancer uses this Russian woman as a way of making amends with things that he experienced in the past. And it was such a beautiful and wonderful project to make. I made it with a really small team of people who are my really close friends still to today. I met Michael because I grew up dancing pretty rigorously as a child and into my teens, and then sort of moved on to filmmaking as my full-time passion. But we kept in touch, and I saw online that he was doing this alter ego who reminded me a lot of teachers that I had growing up. And I was really, really interested in why he was doing this character. And we filmed, you know, over the course of a year. And not until the very last shoot did, something really kind of big reveal itself of why he uses Madame Olga as this alter ego. So yeah, it's available to stream on PBS, which is on YouTube. And yeah, happy for people to check out more of my work.
Yeah, that's exciting, actually. Now, on the camera side of things, I noticed that you did this project, and I'm mentioning this because my kid is a huge fan of boxing. Muhammad Ali's greatest fight. Talk about that experience.
That was one of my very, very first like big movie sets that I ever went on. It was actually someone who worked full time at Panavision joined the camera department. I was an intern for her. She asked me if I wanted to come on set for a couple days, and I was still in college at the time. So I skipped class and went to work, and I it was just such an amazing experience. I remember coming on set and there being three cameras on dollies, and I was like, how are they filming with three cameras at the same time? My responsibilities were pretty minimal. It was making sure like batteries were charged. But
Okay.
I think we were on set with like some incredible people, and I was like pretty starstruck in the beginning. Now it just kind of washes over me. I don't really care, but it was really amazing. But I think it just goes to show that like these little internships that you have, that you just there to learn, they can grow into like much bigger, substantial things in your career.
Oh, you betcha. Now, we want to talk a bit about the producing side of things because I see most of your credits lie within the production area. So, to those who might be novices when it comes to the film industry, can you further define? Everybody's got a different definition of what an actual producer does. So,
Yeah.
tell everybody in your mind, what does that encompass?
I think on the creative side, a producer kind of understands the language that or the vision that the director is trying to execute, and they translate it in a way that is practical um, and logistical. So you take, we want to film, on a beach with a sunset, and we want it to feel contemplative and nostalgic. And so I would say, okay, we need to find a beach, but we need to find bathrooms. We need to make sure that we have weather alternatives. There's all these kind of logistical things that come with that creative vision. So I kind of just make sure that everything has a backup or a plan or a contingency. And then there's, of course, the budgeting side of it, making sure there's enough money, and trying to execute the director's vision as best as possible.
You bet. And from your side of the fence, if I were to ask you what puts kind of the radar up where you say to yourself, yep, I want to sign on as a producer for this particular project.
It could be so many things. The director is a huge part of it, or the production company, if I like really respond to their work. If it's a first-time filmmaker, I think I look for, their real thirst for the project or the subject matter, just feeling like their passion behind the piece. I look for, in a documentary, I look for like where are the where's the kind of sense of drama in the story, or where is what journey am I going to go on with this director, or an audience member? And if I feel like, it doesn't feel like there's quite a problem or like something to solve, or maybe if there's not enough for me to kind of chew on, then I might kind of like pass it off to somebody else, or kind of see how the project evolves over time.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Judy Bloom forever. Gotta
Yeah.
say, she's the reason I started writing. So that just stood out to me. And I was just like, oh my gosh, how did we get that opportunity? How did I not get that opportunity? That must have been awesome.
That was an amazing project to work on. Two wonderful directors, Davina Pardo and Leah Walchuk, and the main producer, Marcella Steingart, who I worked under as the co-producer. Amazing project. We worked on it for a long time, over 2 years, but the directors had been developing the project, I think, even a year before I came on. They worked with Judy Bloom for a long time to get her blessing and get her on board. So that's like a whole part of it, to make
Yeah,
sure that you have access to your main subject, to their work. And I think that those directors really felt like they had a film when they learned the amount of fans that wrote to Judy over her entire career,
yeah,
and that she archived all those letters at Yale. So we had the opportunity to not only, with her permission, get to review some of these letters, but she put us in touch with some of these, letter writers that she kind of developed a relationship with over the course of her career that became like almost second children to her. So that was like such an impactful part of the film.
I bet. You betcha. Now, I don't want to forget to ask this either. Does this mean that now you're a parent at some given point in time that Emily will actually allow maybe the little one to become a little movie star or a producer or director?
We'll see. I think that, the gift that my parents gave me is they always encouraged me to follow my passions. And even if they changed, I was really into dance when I was young, and dance was kind of like my main focus. And then that changed and it became filmmaking. And they said, yes, go for filmmaking, go to film school. And then I went to film school and I, majored in cinematography and I was with camera. And then I said, wait, I really like being in charge. I love producing. So I think having the support system and I would love to give that to my son of, whatever kind of facet of the arts that he wants to explore, I'm all for it. Is it tough and heartbreaking? Absolutely. But, the thick skin gets developed over time.
You aren't lying about that one. My gosh. Well, and also you're a Brooklyn resident, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, so we were just talking about this in my last interview as far as Brooklyn goes. Most people that come into the city are notorious for going to Manhattan and checking out all the main sites. Who can blame them, right? So we want to show some love for Brooklyn. So to
Yeah.
anybody watching this, tell them why they want to come to Brooklyn.
Brooklyn has amazing museums and parks.
Mhm.
It's a great place to just walk. Or, I mean, the best part about being the city is walking around. But I think what I love about walking around Brooklyn is that it feels like you're not, and not everyone's on top of you. Um, it's a bit more spread out. It's a bit calmer, coming out of the subway feels like a breath of fresh air. I would say, go to the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens, see some live music at Sonny's in Red Hook, go to the Waterfront Museum, get some ice cream, walk over the Brooklyn Bridge, and then go to Chinatown. There's so many things to do, but yeah, Brooklyn's strong.
Thank you very much for that. The Baker's Hotline. First question I want to ask you about, because he is not present, is you have a co-director. Tell us
Yeah.
about Dave.
Dave is my husband, and he came up with the idea of this film. And like any good producer, I was like, we should make this. So this was his first co-directing experience. And since I had produced and directed films before, we came in as a team. But yeah, we heard just like a 5-second NPR kind of clip of like, and if you have any baking emergencies, call the baker's hotline. And he was like, that is interesting. So we called and we reached a real person, which in the age of AI just felt kind of incredible to reach a real person on the other end of the line. And it wasn't like a chat bot or something. So we were really excited to work with them and make a film about what the hotline gives to people and how it's like a real source of comfort for people all over the country.
Yeah, no kidding. You betcha. Well, and did you have any reservation? I mean, sometimes partners work together and it's a wonderful experience. And sometimes it's like his vision, my vision, there's this, then we have a small child. How are we going to do all this? Was there any of that involved here?
I mean, traveling with and working with a small child always has its challenges, but aside from that, the King Arthur Flower was an incredible partner, and we told them very early on, and I think it's always really good to be upfront in the beginning before you get too
Yeah.
far. We said, like, look, we don't want to make this a branded piece about King Arthur. We want to highlight the hotline, and they were completely on board. They weren't looking for any kind of branded promotional material. Of course, they wanted to make sure we weren't trying to do some sort of like investigative slant on the company, which,
Yeah.
you know, is impossible with the Baker's. It's such an incredible company.
Yeah.
They like it's it's just a great place to be, and just the fact that they have like 15 full-time employees that work on this hotline
Yeah.
is it shows the type of company that they are.
Oh, you betcha. Absolutely. And of course, I'm assuming Dave came across this idea and did somebody tip you off? I mean, it just seems different to find something like this out of nowhere. You know what I
No,
mean?
I think so many of our projects just come out of nowhere where, you hear something and I think like a regular person would be like, "Oh, that's cool." But I think like a filmmaker is like, "Wait, this is interesting. I want to know more. I want to
Right.
get in touch with them. I want to research them. I want to have pre-interview calls with them." So it kind of snowballs from there. Um, so yeah, nobody tipped us off. We just had a curiosity and went with it.
It's very cool, actually. During the course of the film, one of the things you developed was a collage of sorts in the midst of it. So, just a tech question. How complex was it to put together something like that? Because it just looked very cool the way you presented that.
We had an animator help us with that. His name is
Wow.
Dan DeGraff, and I think that for him it is not very complicated, but for us it is very complicated.
Sure.
Um, he was able to accomplish exactly what we wanted in like 2 or 3 rounds. We kind of
Yeah.
described what we were like envisioning in our heads, and we sent him all these pictures from the Baker's Hotline. And yeah, he did it so beautifully.
Oh, you betcha. And one of the things that I noticed is that all these individuals who are calling into this hotline and the people that are answering this, it's not just a hobby for them. It's a passion for them. It's a way of living, really. And you present that in such a nice fashion on both sides of the fence, meaning the love that the callers have for what they're doing, and then likewise the helpers that are answering the phones and trying to facilitate and all that good stuff. And it's not too over sensationalized. I walked into this thinking, oh, we're going to hear all these weird stories about all sorts of different things. And I'm like, no, it's very humane. It's done very, very well. It's presented very well, actually. And a lot of it I learned comes from them building memories and knowledge and also relationships, which is nice. So, my question to you is when you presented the concept to the participants, what did they want to get out of this film or bring to the film?
I think, for speaking for like Mark and Lighty, the two participants, the two callers,
Yeah.
I think they just felt so grateful for the hotline. And they really feel like the hotline as an entity is their friend and their confidant and helps them through really difficult times, whether it be baking or someone to call over COVID, when everyone was isolated. So I think they just felt so grateful to have that sort of companionship. And similarly, the people on the hotline, they every time they see Lighty or Mark call, they all get so excited. They love hearing what's new with them, what they're baking recently, how their kids are doing. So I think it's a mutual thing for both of them.
Yeah, it does. And it comes across as that too, actually. If individuals happen to hear about the Baker's Hotline, is this a service that can take place in any state, et cetera, or is it localized? Just so I know.
You can call from, and I think you can even call from all over the world. Yeah, if you Google, and so the Baker's, most people find out about the Baker's Hotline because on the back of a King Arthur flower bag is their number.
Got it.
Yeah, so
Okay.
anyone could call the Baker's Hotline from anywhere, but as a company, they're based in Vermont.
Okay. Thank you for that. I appreciate
Yeah.
it. If somebody came to me and said, "Hey, what does the Baker's Hotline mean to you?" This is what I would say. I would say it's a combination of meshing different personalities along with different passions and finding new and interesting relationships. But I am not the creator. So in 2 sentences, can you tell us what's the Baker's Hotline to you?
The Baker's Hotline, I would say, is a place of no judgment, and they answer calls for people in crisis or just have a question, and they, will meet you exactly where you are.
I love that actually. And now that it has gone to HollyShorts, where can we also see the film? Other locations?
Yeah, so it's next it's going to be playing in Vermont, which is really exciting. That's going to be
Wow.
the Vermont screening at the Middlebury New Filmmakers Festival. So that's where it's headed next.
Okay.
And it's also going to be online with Yahoo and the Nonfiction Hot List. So that's really exciting. It's going to have its online premiere and available for everybody to see.
You bet. I don't want to forget to ask about this because you have mentioned places like PBS and other online streaming
Yeah.
places, etc. And I know there's a ton of filmmakers out there that struggle with getting their work seen. So, from you, any good recommendations or tips or suggestions to point them in a direction that'll make it easier for them?
I think, as a start, try to play it at as many festivals as you can. Um, don't just shoot for the top tier ones, shoot for everyone because then you meet film, programmers and distributors, they go everywhere. And If your first film doesn't make it online, then put it on Vimeo and add all your laurels to the front so they can see how many audiences have seen it.
Yeah.
Try for a Vimeo staff pick, try for everything. It's not all going to work on the first round, but this isn't going to be the first or the last film you make. So I think you just have to keep trying, and the industry is constantly changing. So I think, just try to roll with what's changing.
You betcha. And as far as upcoming things for Emily, what else is in the hopper? What else are you working on?
Dave and I are trying to make a film next about haunted dolls that people sell and buy on eBay.
Oh my. How interesting is that? My
Yeah.
gosh. Now, if somebody watches this today and they want to reach out to you or meet you in person, where are the best places to find you on social media or otherwise?
You can go to the Baker's Hotline on Instagram, or you could go to
Mhm.
my website, emilynSchuman.com, and there's a little contact there, and you can reach out to me. Yeah, happy to meet, talk, answer all questions.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on the success of Baker's Hotline, etc., and all the other works that you have. One of the things that I've learned is always to be appreciative. So I can't thank you enough for the work that you do and the contributions that you give us to the Art Society. So thank you very much.
Thank you. It was so nice to chat with you.
Oh, well, thank you.